Go ahead and get started recording. So we'll go ahead and get started here in just a minute. But folks, welcome. We're glad that you could be with us. Thank you for joining us on our BD in your PJs. Chris and I were talking early this morning, and who knew back in August what the first 9 weeks would look like. So first off, to you guys that are joining us, congratulations. We've made it through, or almost through, the first quarter. So take a deep breath and let's get ready for the next quarter. And what we thought we would do is give you both the November and December lessons all at once. Knowing it's hard to believe that here we are thinking Halloween and pumpkins and all things pumpkin spice, but yet we should be also thinking about November and Thanksgiving and December and Christmas, and let's get through that second quarter as well. So that's what we're going to focus on. Just so you know, we want to make sure that everything will be posted on our blog, including this recording, and there'll be a chance for you to fill out your reflection at the end. Chris will talk about that at the end, but we are going to talk about our themes for November and December. Pork with a sub-theme of Thanksgiving for November, and evergreen trees with a sub-theme of snow for December. With that, Chris, why don't you go ahead and get us started and talk us through the poll?
All right, very good. Well, I'm going to end the polling here, and then I'll share the results with you. All right, so the first question, where does Illinois rank in the U.S. for number of pigs raised? The correct answer was 4th, which a majority of us got correct. We are 4th in the nation for pork production. The second question, Illinois pigs eat roughly the equivalent of 911,000 acres of corn each year. About how many bushels would this be? That is 155 million bushels, so the third choice there. The third question about how many evergreen trees does a Christmas tree farmer plant per acre? The correct answer was 2,000, which seems like a lot more than I would have thought in 1 acre, but yeah, 2,000 trees. And the fourth question, on average, how many years does it take to grow a Christmas tree to market size? The correct answer was 7 years, and I've seen anywhere from 6 to 10 years, so all you who guessed 10 years are not too far off. All right, so I'll stop the share results there. And then we'll move on to Kevin talking a little bit about the virtual opportunities that we have for you in your classroom coming up in November.
Chris, if you'll advance the slide. For those of you who have joined us, thank you for joining us on our virtual field trips. We've been very excited about our field trips so far. Field trips in the past, we've taken trips to the pollinator garden at Brookfield Zoo. We've gone to the apple orchard down in Belleville. We went to the pumpkin patch. Plus, we threw in 2 surprise field trips: a soybean harvest field trip with young Natalie Pratt from Lee County, and just this week we went on a corn harvest with even younger Charlie Rogie. But for November, we're going to a pig farm. We're headed back down to the southwestern Illinois to Monroe County, rural Monroe County near Valmeyer, and Bruce Brinkman. Bruce Brinkman will be our host. He's going to be, actually they're filming it next week, but he's going to show you around his pig farm, and he will be online to answer questions about his hog operation. So really excited to talk about Bruce. The other thing that we've done are these author interviews. We realize that literature plays an important part in all of our Ag in the Classroom things, and we'll be working with Liesl Detlefsen. Liesl is an author from Wisconsin, and she's also a farmer. She and her husband also farm cranberries. Look for this. If you don't have a copy of the book, contact your County Ag Literacy Coordinator. They have copies. But Liesl also reads this online from a cranberry bog. They've already harvested the cranberries. That happens earlier than November, but she actually reads her story. She got permission from her publisher to read her story from a cranberry bog. So we will be sharing that. It's on her Facebook page, so we will be sharing that with you as well. So those are 2 things that we're excited about. Folks, remember, you also have the opportunity to use the Q&A feature or the chat feature. We'll monitor that as we go along, but if you have questions about this, please let us know. But our virtual opportunities, again, we try and do these on Thursdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for right at a half hour. Sometimes like we go just a little long because we can't get to all the questions, but we're trying to be a half hour at 1 o'clock on the first and second Thursday, and you'll see that coming true in November as well. November 5th and November 12th, our author interview on the 12th and our farm tour on the 5th. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he's going to talk a little bit about November.
All right, thank you. So we have a bunch of things planned for you for November. As Kevin said, our theme is pork and our sub-theme is Thanksgiving. So we have this schedule to keep it all straight for everyone for when we're releasing these lessons and these activities for students to do both in the classroom and then also at home. And so we'll release this graphic on our social media, and it's also available on our blog. And if you aren't familiar with that, we'll give you the address for that here towards the end. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about our classroom challenges that we're going to release in the month of November. So our first one for our family engagement challenge, we're trying to have activities that parents can do at home with their kids. And our activity this month is make your own feed sack. So we're basing this lesson off of one from Illinois pork producers. And this is where you learn a little bit about what pigs eat in their diet. And then you're going to create your own feed sack, which is essentially like a trail mix type thing. You're going to create your own based on learning about the diet of pigs. So that's our family engagement challenge. Our family cooking challenge is pigs in a blanket. So not that you need much of a recipe for that, but we'll have a recipe for you. I can tell you a few years ago, my son just turned 7. A few years ago, we wanted him to start cooking a little bit and trying, being more active in the kitchen with us. And so this was what we did. And anytime that it's his turn to make dinner, this is his go-to, is making pigs in a blanket. So this is a really good way to get kids involved in cooking, because a lot of kids don't have that experience. And so this is a really good entry level way to do that. And then our November classroom challenge, these are meant to be more of like a STEM type challenge. Our challenge this month is to design a pig barn. So we're going to give you some information on what pigs need in different stages of their care and what they need for what farmers need to do to take good care of them. And we're going to ask your students to try to design their own pig barn to try to keep their pigs healthy and safe in that structure. And so that's our STEM classroom challenge for the month of November. And so all of these challenges are released on our social media page, and we space them out throughout the month. And so they'll come out at different times. So if you haven't yet followed us on Facebook or Instagram, that's where we're notifying people kind of in real time about all these things. We also have links to it on our blog, but the best place to find it is going to be on our Facebook and our Instagram feeds. All right, so those are our November challenges. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the lessons that we're going to release. And each of these lessons we release on a Thursday. And then the idea is that we're trying to give you a few days to plan ahead so that then you can plan to try to bring that lesson into your classroom the following week. So the first lesson that we're going to release in November is the paper bag pig puppet. And so you can see the picture here in the bottom left corner of my screen here. So the idea with that is literally we're going to give you the template. So we've got a template you can print out on pink paper. And actually, pigs aren't just pink. You can print it out on a bunch of different colors of paper to make this work. And then you need a paper bag. And those are really the only two things you need. And so you can see by the picture there, kids are going to cut out the different shapes, the different body parts of the pig. You can talk about all sorts of things related to that. And then they're going to make their own paper bag pig puppet. So the idea would be obviously that the mouth would open at the bottom of that paper bag. A book that we suggest pairing with this, it's a really good one by Gail Gibbons. It's an author that we recommend a lot. So this is Pigs by Gail Gibbons. This would be an excellent book to pair with that paper bag pig puppet. And again, this will be released on, it'll actually be released the last week of October. You'll get the templates and then be able to try to do that first week in November. So that's paper bag pig puppet. That's a tongue twister there. Our next one is Bacon Blackout Poetry. So in my previous career, I taught high school English for about 14 years. And so I did blackout poetry a lot. And I found it to be really beneficial. And, I think normally when I first started teaching, if I did any kind of blackout poetry activity, I would use like a short story or some kind of fiction type text. And I found that it actually works really well if you're trying to get students to read nonfiction text, which I assume you had struggled like I did to get students to try to engage with nonfiction texts. And so this was a really great way, not only to get them to read it closely, but also to read it multiple times. So I found that if I could get students to read shorter passages multiple times, they learn that information much, much better than if I gave them a really, really long passage and asked them to retain information from it. So this is kind of a little bit of a trick where you're kind of tricking them into reading it really closely, reading it multiple times, and they're going to pull out more information than that they even realize. And so you could use this with any of our resources, or just about any resource, period. I did it with our pork ag mag. And so I can show you. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide here. And so I have the original text there on the left from the pork ag mag. And so you can see on my ag mag here, I literally blacked out the words. So the idea with blackout poetry is that you're going to black out the words you don't want to use. And then whatever words are left, that's what you're going to use to write your poem with. There's a few different ways you can do this, and it kind of depends on the level of students you're working with, or just the text that they're working with. And so when I wrote my poem, I used only the words that I had not blacked out, and I used them in order. You could also just let students use the words in any order, right? They could take all the words, they could even write them on slips of paper, and then they could kind of rearrange them to make a bunch of different poems with that. So the only thing that I added in my, I guess my ode to pig manure, my poem there on the right, the only thing I added was punctuation, and then obviously tried to make it look poetic in the way that I organized the stanzas on the page. But literally took it from this passage here about farmers and the environment in the pork ag mag. So that's my my ode to pig manure poem there. I've done this with a couple of our other ag mags. It's worked every time, and so I've been able to craft a poem from it each time. And again, a really cool way to get students to engage with that information. And I think if a student read just the poem that I wrote and didn't even read the whole passage, they're still getting that information. And so it's a good way too, if you want students to read different texts and then read each other's poems, they could still learn about those different things. So for instance, one student could do this with the beef ag mag, one could do it with the apple ag mag, and then they could pair poems and still get that information from it. So blackout poetry, I really, really like that as an ELA lesson, and something, again, to bring in some ag connections and some nonfiction text in there as well. If you're not familiar with how to get our ag mags, those are available from your county level ag literacy coordinator. We have classroom sets of 30 you can get for free from them. And so on our website, agintheclassroom.org, you can, there's a link there to contact your county level coordinator. You can reach out to them and get these ag mags in time to be able to do this lesson here this next month. All right, so that is our bacon blackout poetry. Our next lesson is a pig placemat. And with this book, we're recommending, or with this lesson, we're recommending the book Pigs and Pork by Susan Anderson and Joanne Buggy, another excellent ag accurate book here. I was telling Kevin this morning, a year ago, on a Friday morning, I would have been probably like teaching Shakespeare or something like that. This Friday morning, I was making a pig placemat. So I've come a long way in a year here. And so I'll try to show it in the screen here. So the idea with the pig placemat is, again, we're pulling in our pork ag mag, and you could pull in other texts as well. Like for instance, this book could be a source for the pig placemat. And so the idea is that students would design a placemat using the information. And so as opposed to having them say, write a paragraph or do some kind of traditional text, this would kind of be an alternative text that they would create. And so you can see my amazing example here, obviously. I've got a number of different pork facts that I pulled out. I have a place for them to draw a healthy meal that includes their favorite pork product. I have a word search where I give them the definition and then they have to figure out what the word is and then find it. And then made a bar graph showing how much corn and beans pigs eat in any given year in Illinois. So you can see I pulled in a lot of things here. I've got some ELA, I've got some math stuff going on here. There's a lot of different cross-curricular connections you can make with an activity like this. And just to prove that it's possible, my 7-year-old made his own pig placemat as well. And so you can see he pulled that mostly from reading a little bit of the ag mag, but also looking at the pictures, he was still able to make his own pig placemat. So another cool way to get students engaged with the text, and obviously has some pretty strong ag connections there. And really all you need again is our ag mags or some other pig related books, and then also some big paper. We also have on our website on agintheclassroom.org, and I'll link to this when we release this lesson. We also have something called readers, and they're essentially shortened versions of our ag mags, and they're easy to print off at school. So I'll give you a link to that as well. That might be a good source for either the Blackout Poetry or the pig placemat. I'll also mention too, we also have online versions of those ag mags, and they're all interactive where there's external links to videos and other resources on there as well. And so all that's on our website. And so if you can't get the paper copies, you still could be able to access those virtual copies. All right, so that is Pig Placemat for that third week of November. And then the last lesson that we have for November are applesauce pig and turkey pudding cup. And so with this lesson, we're connecting it with the book Gracias, the Thanksgiving Turkey, a great Thanksgiving book, also a really great way to bring in some multicultural literature, which I think we should continue to be trying to do more and more of that. And so excellent book to pair with that. Again, I don't want to be too braggy here, but I made these all by myself yesterday. And so there's a couple different ways that you could do the turkeys. We have templates for these, so you could print these out on colored paper and have the students cut them out. Then just cut out a triangle for the beak, and then some googly eyes there on there. If you got feathers, that works. Pipe cleaners work. You need to cut them a little bit short to make them work, but they work as well. This could be a simple art kind of activity, or you could have some kind of make it some kind of glyph where if you have a brother, you use a green feather, or if you have if you eat this food for Thanksgiving, then you use an orange feather, that kind of thing, and have the students kind of customize it based on that. You could also use it if you did the paper version. Students could write down things that they're thankful for on those feathers as well. And then the applesauce pig, these are literally just little heart shapes. You could use, I use construction paper. You can also use the little, like the little foam hearts that you can buy in the packs. That's easy as well. A button for a nose, and then again, some googly eyes. So again, kind of a cute craft art type thing, but also we can make it, ramp it up and make it a little bit more educational with that as well. All right, so those are our November lessons. I'm not seeing any questions. Please feel free if you have questions as we go. Please use that Q&A feature there, and we'll be happy to answer those as we go on if one of us will be looking at that at any given time here. So. All right, so those are our November lessons. We're really excited about those. A really cool way to pull in some pork-related lessons in the month of November.
Chris, when I made you the co-host, when I made you the host, it took away my video. So I don't know that people need to see me, but if you're ready for me, looking for me.
Yeah, let me, I will fix that for you.
But folks, another thing, yeah, we're trying to address pork. This is Pork Month. October is Pork Month, and we're extending that into November. We felt the natural connection was for us to concentrate on pumpkins, and quite honestly, we just didn't know how, when we were planning this, we didn't know how long things would be the way they are, and we still don't know. So we're dealing with it just like you are. A couple of other things that we'll share. If you want to do more than just the pork stuff, that placemat would lend itself really easily to other Thanksgiving things. Please follow our website and the blog. We'll be posting things there, but also our social media. Every year, the American Farm Bureau does a grocery basket survey. That would also be a really good primary source. That would be a great nonfiction way to integrate that with the placemat on what things cost. Another thing, hopefully you've noticed from our social media and other channels that we are also doing book reviews. We will be stepping those up in November and December to feature some more Thanksgiving things in addition to the pork stuff, and feature some Christmassy holiday things in addition to the evergreens. And one thing about Thanksgiving, 2020, everything's been weird since middle of March. So Thanksgiving might as well. A great book that I'm going to just share with you is called Turkey Monster Thanksgiving. I really, really like this book. Check. It might be a little hard to find. It is an Albert Whitman publication, but it is a great early chapter book, probably third, fourth grade reading level, but 15, 16 chapters. But it talks about a family going through crisis. Not COVID, it's several years old, but children of divorce. One child has gone through a divorce, and the other child, her classmate, lost a parent, and trying to build the perfect Thanksgiving. And Norman Rockwell didn't dream what Thanksgiving was going to look like this year. So that's another one in addition to Time for Cranberries and the books that Chris listed. I'm also going to be putting a plug in for a new book. It is a graphic novel. It's the Geeky Fab 5, and it's the Food Fight for Fiona. It is a graphic novel from a female perspective, so it's not just guys that'll enjoy graphic novels. This is all females. There are some guys in it, but the main characters are female, and it's talking about food insecurity. Would caution you to not knowing where your students are, but thinking about this. It's a really good graphic novel. There's another great book called The Last Great Adventure of the Peanut Butter and Jelly Society. Really, really like it, but it is more of a junior high level book, even though it is written at that 4th, 5th grade level, just because of that food insecurity aspect. So one thing to think about, and I'm sure you're all aware, everyone across the state is in different places with that idea of food security. And what's happening. And so just some other resources to go along with that. Chris, there is something in the Q&A.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah. Question is there anywhere we can find lessons for grades 6 through 8? I can talk, and I'm sure you have some ideas too, Kevin. I think, a couple of these, like, the applesauce pig, that's not really going to probably work too well for 6, 8. But I do think like the Blackout Poetry, I would have done that with up to high school age students. I mean, that absolutely could be used. Again, you change the parameters of what you expect. It is harder to do that when you are only able to use the words in order. And so, you can make different expectations to make that a little more challenging. I think too, with something like the pig placemat, it doesn't need to be a placemat. It could be an infographic they could design and bring in some technology. It could be a poster project. There's a lot of ways to get students to engage with that material in meaningful ways. Our ag mags are written at about a 4th grade level, but they certainly could be used for older students, especially we bring in the career section at the end of the ag mag. That absolutely could be used with older students, and it's in some cases is written at a higher level there as well. Do you have other ideas with that, Kevin?
Yeah, and the ag mag, we really like our ag mags, but again, the weekly reader type format really does limit it to that lower than 6th through 8th grade. That's why I'd highly encourage you to look at our readers. It's on our website, the second bar down. It says ag mag, then it says ag readers. So it's like the second thing on the teacher resource page. Same information, written at a slightly higher level and with more graphs and line art as opposed to a cool picture. So it does lend itself that way. And Heidi, I'd also suggest reaching out on specific lessons that you're looking for and contacting your county ag literacy coordinator. If you're teaching science, they have binders called Agra Science Kits, literally all about science on different materials. And then also there are MAGIC kits, and the MAGIC stands for Multidisciplinary Agriculture Integrated Curriculum. So on all sorts of topics, again, that you can water down or that you can bulk up. So.
And I pulled up here, you can see this is one of our readers, and we have color and black and white versions to make them easier to print off at school.
And those are designed for you to be able to print those off right at school. Your county ag literacy coordinator might have a couple copies on hand, but it was designed for you guys to print off. So hope that answers that question. So.
All right, well, keep questions coming here, and then we're gonna go ahead and move forward and switch to talking about some December stuff. So let me switch my screen here. All right, so I'll start off and I'll talk about our field trip in December. So we're going to go to a Christmas tree farm. So this is in McLean County in Saybrook, Illinois. We're going to Helmig's Tree Farm. It's a great little tree farm. Their whole family, they have 4 children that help run the tree farm as well. It's a really cool place. And so we're going to go there the first Thursday in December and talk to their family about their tree farm. And so it'd be a pretty cool opportunity to see a crop that's not grown widely in Illinois, but there's certainly many dozens of tree farms across the state. And so I'm excited to talk with the Helmigs. We go there each winter. We buy wreaths from them each year. And so we're excited to talk to them and learn more about their Christmas tree farm. That kind of farm is different than what we normally think of with like, planting in the spring, harvesting in the fall. As we already talked about with our poll question, they're thinking 7 years ahead when they're planting trees to then be able to harvest them 7 years later. So the planning aspect that goes into it is much different than it would be for a lot of the crops that we grow here in Illinois. So really excited to go talk to the Helmigs on December 3rd. And then Kevin, you want to talk about our author interview?
Our author interview will be with Patricia Todd. We're going to bring Patricia Todd back again, and she is the author of Pick a Pine Tree. Cool part about Patty Todd is she's an Illinois author, and she is from the Chicagoland area, lives up in Kane County. Currently works as a librarian as well in the school system, so has that aspect of it. Also owned a bookstore, has lived abroad, and just some really, really unique features that go along with that. She was our author interview for Pick a Pumpkin as well. Again, in our author interviews, we really like the aspect that we can bring on the students. And from an upper level ELA perspective, or from an upper level whatever perspective, one of the things that all of our authors have really talked about is the editing process. And they didn't just write the book and they were done. The aspect that they went through, this churn that they went through that had other people read it. They thought it was pretty good the first time, but how many times did they rewrite that? And again, as a former English teacher and as a former student myself, and sometimes when papers are due, sometimes you're hitting print at the same time that it's due. That aspect of bringing this together. So really, really appreciate that. And Chris, before we go to the next slide, what I want to talk about is the last couple of PD in your PJs were sponsored by the Illinois Farm Bureau. Our friends at Illinois Corn, they're sponsoring this one. So we appreciate Illinois Corn being able to sponsor this one. And if you do fill out the promotion, if you do fill out the reflection, we have something for you for that. Heidi asked a question. Heidi also brought up a question about using this with her junior high ag class, And I'm going to share this with you. Chris, for our junior high kids too, for our junior high and our high school kids, Chris actually just presented something at the Elite Conference, and that is a high school level recruiting course trying to work with high school students who are thinking about going into education, specifically ag education. One other thing to think about with junior high kids is how they might teach this. You taking these topics and how could they break this down, give them a better understanding of what's going on. So Heidi, I encourage you to reach out to Megan Coy or send us an email offline and we will hook you up with that, the junior high level material about how junior high students, if that time becomes appropriate again, could go in and teach elementary students about specific topics. Chris, you want to go ahead and share the screen again, and I will go on with December. All right, so we've got our ag opportunities, and again, our December theme is evergreen trees with a sub theme of snow and weather. So as you'll see here as we go through all of our lessons that we're going to release. So we've got materials that start on December 3rd, and we go right through December 17th. So we will be supplementing this with other materials, specifically our book reviews. Chris, you can go to the next page. It talks about our challenges. So we are releasing our challenges, and we have a family engagement challenge. So for families to do at home on those off hybrid learning days or something like that. But it's building a pine cone wildlife feeder. So finding a pine cone, different aspects that they could do to hang the pine cone and feed the wildlife, specifically birds. Our family cooking challenge involves no cooking, but it's a pretzel marshmallow snowflake, building 3D pretzel marshmallow snowflakes. Just one of those things that families can do to talk about STEM connections, big marshmallows, little marshmallows, pretzels, and build your own snowflakes, because there are no two snowflakes that look alike. So a cool activity there. And then our December classroom challenge is to design a winter-proof conifer. So we're going to design a winter-proof conifer, and we're going to look at all of the different trees and the varieties of evergreen trees with links to the National Christmas Tree Association that talk about the different traits that go along with evergreens, the needle length, and the how hardy they grow. Do they stand up to wind better? Those type of things. Do they need more wet or do they need more dry? So you're going to design a winter-proof conifer for the best area for your area of the state or wherever you would like it to be. So watch for those challenges coming up in December. our first week we'll release it on November 30th, so shortly after Thanksgiving, and we'll release it right before Thanksgiving for the first week of December, and that's our 3D evergreen tree. It's our 3D evergreen tree, and the activity is to take a green piece of construction paper. You've got this, you cut it out, and you're basically making a table tent out of it. But talking about the aspects that go into this, specifically the seeds of trees. And what do seeds of trees look like? Well, we know that oaks have acorns and maples have those little helicopter things, but remember that evergreen trees, it starts with the pine cone. And it starts with the pine cone, and it starts with the cone, and that's where the seeds are released from before it becomes a seedling, before it becomes an evergreen tree. So I think your students will enjoy that, paired up with Patty Todd's Pick a Pine Tree. All right, the next slide, Chris. Our second week, for the week of December 7th, we will be doing a pine cone adaptation experiment. Our pine cone adaptation experiment. And again, this is a really cool resource, and we've got a great lesson plan to design for an experiment. And for Heidi at an upper level, this would definitely be for you. You could definitely bulk this up, but taking your pine cones and finding out how they work and where it comes from. So we're going to actually start with a hypothesis. What do you think will happen when you put a pine cone in water, leave it in water, and design the experiment? Was your hypothesis correct? How it all works? Yeah, you've got this. So you see what happens after it opens up, and a great experiment to go along with that. So this is the pine cone experiment. We're recommending the pine cone walk, that goes along with that. It's a great book talking about forests and pine cones. I will throw in another book that we'll be releasing around that day, because December 7th, that day which will live in infamy. I'm a former history teacher, but we're going to talk about a book called Christmas from Heaven. And it's the true story of the Berlin candy bomber. And after World War II, how this pilot flew over and dropped some candy to the children of behind the Iron Curtain. So what was happening there? The Berlin candy bomber is a great story. And if you will actually include a link, you can find a YouTube video of Tom Brokaw, and that we're showing our age. If you remember who Tom Brokaw is, it'll be showing your age if you remember who Walter Cronkite is as well. But Tom Brokaw actually narrates a video of this book, and it's just phenomenal. But talking that history connection and food. So kind of goes back to that Thanksgiving aspect that we've got, but Thanksgiving and food going on with Christmas and food. So that's our second week. Our second week is the pine cone, is our pine cone adaptation experiment. The third week, we're going to get into snow, and that's for growing a snowflake. And our activity with growing a snowflake, we've paired with curious about snow. But we're going to put this through the water ag mag. And basically, you're using pipe cleaner and string. Christian, go to the next section. You're using pipe cleaner and string and some borax to form those crystals. And everyone will have a different shaped snowflake. So you can make that. But I also want you to, another aspect that you could continue to do to go along with this, and this could be at an upper level as well. We'll link this to our website, the Farmer's Almanac. We have a great activity on the Farmer's Almanac, and it depends on where you're at around the state. People making predictions about the weather. And weathermen, they kind of have a rough life, a rough gig, but they how accurate are they? And now even with all the different apps and weather apps and where it's coming from, what could we do with predictions? So a cool activity to go along with this is from our Farmer's Almanac. Look at what the Almanac said, or even the 10-day forecast, and see how accurate it was. The good news is, think about how far we've come. And now we have these alerts, even if they're only a day ahead of time or 2 days ahead of time. But you think back in your lifetime, how far we've come with computer models and enhanced radar equipment, that type of thing. Another activity, another book that we'll be pairing with that is one, it's one from one of our favorite authors, Peggy Thomas. And Peggy Thomas has written a number of history-oriented books, including Farmer George and Thomas Jefferson. I just got a sneak peek at her new book on Lincoln, so I'm really excited about that. But one of her first books was called Snow Dance. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, your students might be of the age now, if they're in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, they'll be able to tell their kids about when we used to not have school because of snow days. Basically what's happening is this little girl is doing the snow dance because she wants a snow day. And so not only does she do the snow dance, her mom does the snow dance, the teacher does the snow dance, the bus driver, the principal, everybody does the snow dance, and they end up with a snow day. We don't have snow days anymore. That's just going to be remote learning. So that's our Grow a Snowflake and a couple of activities that go along with it. We do have a question, and make sure we have this. Well, the links they'll be on our Facebook site, as well as a really good question here for Erica. The links will be on our everything we share will go to our blog site. So beyondthebarndoor.wordpress.com. Just a quick tutorial for all the folks. When we entered into at-home work back in March, we actually had a blog that I used once or twice a year called beyondthebarndoor.wordpress.com. Our IT is all handled. Our website is handled through our IT department. As you can imagine, our IT department was busy supporting the 140, 150 or so people that were now working remote, used to come into the office. So they switched, and we started putting things on our blog site. So if you go to our blog site, Chris, can you go ahead and try and pull that up? On our blog site, everything will go there. We also put things on social media. So look for it if you're following us on social media. If you're not on social media, you'll be able to find everything on our blog site, beyondthebarndoor.wordpress.com as well. So, so our website goes here, and it says at the top of the website, go to Beyond the Barn Door. You go right there, and it pulls it up. Most of them will be under, Chris, I'm going to let you drive and talk at the same time. Go ahead here. You got to unmute, Chris.
All right. The lessons are going to be under fall 2020. And so you can go back if you want to see the lessons and activities we've released these previous months, and then you can see November and December are here. Our teacher trainings, the recorded versions of these webinars are here. And then we've got the recorded versions of the field trips and the author interviews here as well. And then a bunch of other things too. Likewise, since I'm here, if you haven't yet and want to sign up for our field trips or our author visits, there are links. You can click on the graphics here to sign up for those as well. And you'll get those emails with those webinar links for those also. So that's all right there.
Right. Our book reviews that we do, those are on social media, but they're also on our YouTube channel. So if you just Google us on YouTube, you can find that. Oh, that book reviews are on there, aren't they, Chris?
Yep, we got them there too. Yep.
Sorry. There's so much stuff on there. I don't even remember what everything is, but that's where everything is. Hopefully that answered that question. And we'll go on back to the slideshow, and getting down closer to Christmas, the last week, our last activity is comparing conifer hardiness. We'll be comparing conifer hardiness. So hopefully by the last week, what we'll do, we'll pair this up with Where Would I Be If I Were in an Evergreen Tree? Great book that goes along with that. But that last week, we're going to be taking samples of conifers, and we're going to devise an experiment that talks about how do we preserve them. How do we preserve them? You know, you start getting a wreath, and do you spritz it? Is it outside? How do you do it? Do you stick it? You know, what if you mix it with 7-Up? What do you do with those kind of things? But it's a great activity for the students to take a conifer sample and stick it into a jar of water versus a jar of vinegar versus a jar of dishwashing soap. You know, where I live, leash laws in town means that squirrels and sometimes other little small rodents, mainly squirrels, we have lots and lots of squirrels, but they tend to want to feast on your pumpkins that are sitting out. So how do you keep them from eating the pumpkins? And Chris is a farmer. He realizes this too. What I need is a better dog, I think, or no leash law to chase them off. But There were people saying, if you dunk them in a bath water of bleach, will they stay longer? Well, is that good for the environment? What about vinegar? How does that work? So different activities that go along with that. And that's what this comparing conifer hardiness lesson plan will look like. It's going to show you how you stick this branch and see how long it keeps. Good lessons to go along with that. And those of you in the cut flower business, like Chris, know that if you're going to try and extend the life of these things, what does it look like? So that's our comparing conifer hardiness lesson that goes along with it. I'll share a couple other really good books that we'll be featuring, including Snow. This is a great book on snow. And again, pairs wonderfully with our water ag mag. And then we'll also be doing a great book, farm-related books that go along with winter and farm as well. One of my favorites, and my kids still read this. They did last year. We'll see next year. But on Christmas morning, this is one that my students read. It's by Pearl Buck, but it's called Christmas Day in the Morning, and it's a story of a younger boy. He's getting older, so a 5th, 6th grade boy, and he is coming on to. He doesn't know what to get his dad, and his dad's a farmer, and he basically takes over the chores. And it's a phenomenal book, Christmas Day in the Morning. That whole idea, Pearl Buck. It's better to give than to receive. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about Sleep Tight Farm? One of the books you'll be sharing and showcasing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't have a copy with me, but it's a really cool book. So it's called Sleep Tight Farm, and it's a specialty crop farm. They grow fruit and vegetables. They cut hay, all sorts of things. They have chickens. And so basically the book is about them putting the farm to sleep in the winter, essentially. And so actually, we just read it last night before my son went to bed. We read that book. So it's fresh in my mind here still. So similar kind of idea where they go through all the different chores they have to do. They compare how their fields look, how their hoop houses look now in the winter to how they looked in the summer when they were full of tomatoes, that sort of thing. And so really cool book to not only talk about the chores and the things that have to be done throughout the year on the farm, but also this kind of idea of winter being a time of rest and a time to be with family and things like that too. So yeah, Sleep Tight Farm, really, really great book.
I'm going to throw in a plug for another book because it does end at Christmas. We have lots of books, and people have asked me, what's your favorite book? And it's like children, you can't have a favorite child. Most days, some days you can, but one of my favorites is A Season of Gifts by Richard Peck. And I've often said that if I had to run into the building and the building was on fire and grab one book, this is the one I would grab. A Season of Gifts by Richard Peck. Richard Peck, also an Illinois author, takes place in central Illinois, fictitiously Piatt County, right around the Bement area. You don't know where it's at, but in the Champaign area. And it's the third part in his trilogy, From a Year Down Yonder and a Long Way from Chicago. Mrs. Dowdle is still the neighbor, but this started the week before school started. There are 18 chapters, roughly 18 weeks between the start of the school year and Christmas break. And it ends on Christmas Eve with a huge surprise. But it's fictitiously set on a farm back in the 1950s. A new family moves into town and adjusting to that. I often tell people, if you had one book to read, to do a read aloud at the end of the period, or at some point in time, take those 7 to 10 minutes to read a chapter aloud each week. You did it once a week. By the end of the first semester, you'd read this book and talked about all those ag related materials that go along with this. We do have a lesson booklet that goes along with this as well. So those are our activities that go along with that. And Chris, before we go to the next one, let's talk a little bit about the rest of what's coming. What we've decided to do is we will continue doing our weekly and monthly lessons throughout the rest of the school year. So we will continue to do this. Not knowing where you're going to be in school, not only do you not know that, your parents don't know, everything is up in the air. We understand that. So we've already mapped out January, February, March, April, May, all the way through the rest of the school year. You'll see this type of activity as well. We will be starting back up our PD in your PJs in January for February. A special note, in theory, our PD in your PJs is going to be in December. Y'all don't want to do that. There's going to be too much stuff going on. So what we'll do is we will record something and release it to anybody that wants to watch it. And same materials that go along with that, but we will not be hosting a live one, but you can watch it. It'll be released around December 15th, so you can get prepared for January. Again, we've told you that November is Thanksgiving and pork, December, evergreen trees and snow. January is dairy and, Chris, what's our sub theme? I just forgot. Dairy and nutrition?
Yes.
Dairy and nutrition. That's what we're doing with dairy and nutrition. So we'll have that for you so you'll know what's coming ahead. So we wanted to make sure that you had what was coming ahead. We will be continuing with our virtual field trips as well. So we are going to do that. And I'm excited about our field trips because oftentimes we think of field trips and farm, and it's nice. It's spring or it's summer or it's fall. Farming in Illinois still happens in the winter. So our dairy field trip will be what it's like to milk a cow when it's below zero outside. So we will be promoting those as well. So that's what we've got coming up. Wanted to make sure that you do that again, but we wanted to share this one because it is Halloween and our sponsors at Illinois Corn, we've got an activity, and Chris worked really hard on this. He's having far too much fun doing these kind of things, but it's our disappearing ghost. So it's our disappearing ghost. And for some reason, I just noticed that disappearing is we got a mistypo in the word.
I just noticed the same thing. Yeah.
Where'd that A come from? So
yeah,
maybe the ghost put it there.
All right, so I'm going to start. My son, who's a first grader now, he's kind of had an unpaid internship with us for the last 8 months because basically every time I do something weird, I ask him to help me out with it, essentially. And so I'm going to show you our little teaser video that we made yesterday first, and then I'll explain the lesson here.
Corn is one of the most important crops that we grow here in Illinois. We use corn for everything from animal feed to producing ethanol to hundreds of other products that we use every single day. Did you know we can even use corn to make biodegradable packing peanuts? But it's the strangest thing. Every year as we get closer to Halloween, these packing peanuts start exhibiting some really strange behaviors. Oh no! Oh, it's the packing peanut ghost. Who am I going to call to help me with this? Have you been there the whole time?
It's time to bust some ghosts!
If you want to learn how to make these ghosts disappear also, go to agintheclassroom.org or click the link to see the disappearing ghost lesson.
All right, so that is our disappearing ghost. So I'll go back to, oops, let's see here. There we go. And so essentially we're using these, these corn-based packing peanuts. And so you get a Sharpie, make a ghost face on it, and you can turn it into an experiment to kind of figure out who can make their ghost disappear the fastest. So we actually have 2 lessons that go with this. We have one where just if you have the corn packing peanuts, shows you how to do just that part of it. We also have a recipe to make your own corn packing peanuts out of cornstarch. And so you just need a microwave and some cornstarch and some water. And so we have a lesson to show you how to do that as well. So really cool thing. And again, it could just be kind of a fun activity, or if you want to turn it into an experiment, there's lots of different ways you could, do it with cold water, warm water, try other liquids as well to see what makes that dissolve the fastest. A good book to pair that with is The Legend of Spookly, the Square Pumpkin. The book also has a CD that goes with it that has a video version, and actually that's currently on Netflix. My family just watched it a week or so ago, and so if you want to pair the book with the, it's about a 30-minute video that goes with that as well. That's available online currently through Netflix. So that's our disappearing ghost activity. We're pretty excited about. I think that's pretty cool.
And, folks might be wondering, where can I get these packing peanuts? So the other part about this is to go along with the experiment, use some packing peanuts that you might get from Amazon or you might have laying around the house that are made from styrofoam and how they don't dissolve, or just take a styrofoam cup and let it not dissolve. But the cornstarch packing peanuts, those of you who fill out the reflection statement and provide us with your name and address by Monday. You got to do this early, got to do this by Monday. I will mail you this with the materials from our sponsor, the Illinois Corn Growers. So we've got some stuff. Yeah, no more coffee mugs. Sorry, you've made it through the first quarter. You might need something to hold your Diet Pepsi or something stronger in as you continue on into the second quarter. But I do have individually wrapped bags of cornstarch packing peanuts. we're packed with people in masks and gloves, so don't worry about that. And we'll stick those in the mail on Monday. That's the next time I'm back in the office. So cool activities to go along with that. So go ahead, Chris.
That's all I've got for that. And so, yeah, as we kind of come to a close here, if you've got questions, please use that Q&A feature there. Here's a reminder of how to get to our resources. So it's beyondthebarndoor.wordpress.com. Instagram and Facebook especially, we're very active on. And so all these will be released on there as well and have links back to the blog to see that stuff. Kevin mentioned filling out that, that reflection that we're asking you to do, and then we'll also send you a certificate of completion that you can use to get your PDCH credit. We're going to do it a little bit differently this time. So if you've been doing this all along, it usually takes me about a week or so to mail you your certificate. We're going to try it this time. And if you have issues with that, please feel free to email me. So when you fill out the reflection, you will get an email instantly that should have a fillable PDF attached to that email. And so all you'll have to do is open up that PDF, type in your name, and then you can either save that to your computer, or you could also print it out to use as your evidence that you completed this webinar. So again, that should be emailed to you directly. It'll probably say that it came from Jotform, which is the program we use for our reflections, and it should have that PDF connected to it. We tried it. It should work on any device that you're opening it up on, and you should be able to type in your name with that. But again, if you have issues with that, please don't hesitate to let me know.
We'd also encourage anybody, if you have questions, you need something else, on our website, so agonaclassroom.org, there's a contact us form. You can send questions directly to us. Shoot us an email. We'd be happy to answer those at any time. So a couple of thank yous in the Q&A section. If there aren't any others, we'll stay on for a couple more minutes, but this will be out there. Highly encourage you to do that. Now, I do know that 16 of you, we've had average around 60 people each time filling this out. 16 of you participated in both the September and the October. If you're on this time and you fill out your reflection form, the IAA Foundation will be sponsoring a special gift to anybody that's done the trifecta. So if you've won the Triple Crown of PDs in your PJ, there'll be a second special gift that'll come later for you, for those of you who have filled out and are on the completion form for that. So keep an eye on that. Again, you would have had to fill out the reflection form in order to get that. So had to meet all three. So if there aren't other questions, got a question here. The books that we review and that we're talking about, these are just some of our favorites. Again, we don't sell books. Highly encourage you to reach out to your local bookstore. Most of these should be in your library. Your ag literacy coordinator should have those as well. If you are going to go through Amazon, make sure you use the Smiles account, and we recommend the IAA Foundation. They help fund us for that. But reach out to your local library and your county coordinator first. Most of those you should see. If you'd like to help us out, you got some students and some book suggestions, have your students film a short book review about an ag-related book on the topic and shoot it to us. There's a chance we could, with your permission, share that with our audience as well. So some more thank yous. Chris, the reflection come to your email. Help it out, help out Tanya here.
So yeah, so the reflection in the email that I sent with the link for today's webinar, there is a link to that reflection in there as well. And so that you should already have that link to it. I'm going to also email everybody on the webinar mailing list with resources that we talked about today. And so I'll also include it again. But yeah, it is included in the email you already have from me.
All right, so I think we've got all of those. Folks, with that, enjoy the day. Hold on to your hats. It's supposed to be a little windy out, but as we head into fall and toward the second quarter, thanks for your continued work. And if you have any questions at all, please let us know. Reach out to us or reach out to your local ag literacy coordinator. So with that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, Chris.